What's up, eighth graders? And let's take a look at our learning target for today. It says I can write an equation and draw a tape diagram from context. So in our last video, we were using the tape diagrams to solve word problems, right? But now we're going to take them same tape diagrams that we have been using, and we're going to create equations out of them. Okay, here we go. So let me introduce to you this concept called redraw right. And most of you are probably familiar with this from elementary school, excuse me. You use the redraw right method, where one, you will read the problem, two, you will draw and label, and then three, you will write a sentence. So we're going to use those skills to create our equations. Here we go. Remember this problem where Sam was buying a video game? He had $62 and he spent $25 on a new video game. Yep, and remember we came up with our variable where we identified the X to be the amount of money that Sam had left. And here's our tape diagram that we came up with. And then now what I want to know is how could we write, right, an equation for this problem? Let me move me out of the way because I'm just all in the way, right? I want you to be able to see the question. So how can we write an equation for this problem? I just want you to pause the video, think about it for a quick second. When you're ready, resume the video, and we will move on from there. All right, welcome back. So I want you to just think about this. If you look at the diagram here, we have a whole, which is 62, and then we have two parts. And I just want to give you an idea or give you a tip to let you know that when you're using the tape diagrams, all you have to do in order to write your equation is do your part plus another part and make it be equal to a whole. So with that being said, we can basically say 25 plus x and make it equal to the whole 62. And there we have our equation. So $25 plus x dollars equals $62. And that's how we were able to find out that Sam had how much money left? Well, in case you forgot, let's see if you remember how to solve this. What do we have to do to solve to get our answer? I want you to pause the video and complete that step real quick. Resume the video when you're ready. Okay, welcome back. So hopefully you remember that you had to subtract 25 from 62 to figure out your X value. And if you did it correctly, you will see that Sam saved $37. And that's how much money he has left to spend. All right, moving along. Let's check out our next problem. I'm going to slide me over here. Hopefully I won't be in the way. So remember our cousin Joe. Joe had $173 in the bank in the beginning. And then at the end of 7 weeks, he had now $208. And we were trying to figure out how much money he saved each week. Y'all remember doing that one? Well, here's the tape diagram that we came up with. And we did our part to part in whole. Remember that, right? So now with that being said, I want to know how can we write this how can we write an equation for this problem that we have? So using our tape diagram. Now remember, I just said we're going to do part plus part and make it be equal to a whole. So I want you to pause the video and see if you can come up with an equation on your own. When you're ready, resume the video, and then I want you to compare your answers to Mr. G answer and see what you have. Ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. So with this particular one, if you look at it, we have one part that's 173. We have like 7 parts that are just X, right? So how in the world could we write this as an equation, Mr. Gilliard, you might ask? Well, thinking like an 8th grader or a 6th grader or a 7th grader or just a middle schooler period, right? We're using X's. You see these X's? In elementary school, a 3rd grader would probably see question marks, right? But it's simply the same thing. But because we're using these X's, we're going to use it to our advantage instead of our equation. So to do part plus a part and make it equal to a whole, we should have something like this, where we have 173 plus x 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 and make it be equal to 208. And there you have your equation. But could this be simplified? So to all my good equation writers, I want you to pause the video and see if you can simplify this sentence because this is just too long. How can we make this be shorter? Remember combining like terms, and we know what like terms are, right? Those particular terms that look the same that we can add together. So I want you to pause the video, go ahead and combine your like terms and simplify this equation. And when you're ready, resume it and compare your answers to Mr. G. Ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you were able to take all those X's right there and add those bad boys together, and you should have 173 plus 7x equals 208. Now, hold a minute. We're not done yet. You have to tell me if you remember how to solve this or not. So what would we do? How would we simplify this equation? First things first, we need to realize that we're going to do 208 minus 173, which will give us what? $35. Now, why do you think we're doing 208 minus 173? Well, remember, at the end, we ended up with $208. He started out with 173. So to figure out what was in between, we had to subtract 173 from 208 to see what was left, and that was $35. Then we took that $35, and what do you think we do next? Pause the video and see if you can figure it out. When you're ready to resume, resume. Ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. So what did we do to figure out our answer? Well, hopefully you remembered that we divided 35 divided by 7, and we found out how much money he was saving each week, and therefore you see that our answer is 5. So he was saving $5 every week for 7 weeks to have a total of $35 saved. Okay? Moving right along. Let me move me out of the way once again, and I might have to move again, but it's okay. So remember, we talked about the 5 friends that went to the fall festival, and I actually showed you 2 different examples for this one, so hopefully you remember. Okay, so we remember that they each had to pay a certain amount to get in, right? Which was $10 a piece. So we created our tape diagram to show the total amount of money they spent, which was $120. We also was able to let's move me out of the way right here. Hopefully we're good. And we was also able to identify how much money they got to spend on lunch separately, right? So what's the first thing we need to do? Let's take this diagram that we created in our last video, and let's create an equation. So remember, part plus a part plus a part plus a part, make it be equal to the whole, and see if you can figure out this equation on your own. So go ahead and pause your video and then resume when you're ready. Ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you were able to go ahead and add all your parts together and get this, where you have, let's move me out of the way again. So 10 plus x plus 10 plus x and so on, and we made it be equal to 120. Now, a few minutes ago, we were able to simplify our equations to make it shorter because that's just too long. I can't imagine trying to do an equation on a sheet of paper that's that long, so we need to simplify this bad boy. So I want to see if there's anybody that's bold enough, strong enough, mighty enough, and are willing to simplify this equation. So pause the video when I say go, do that, resume, and then we'll have a discussion later. Ready, set, go. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you had opportunity to simplify your equation. And if you notice, if you count all the parentheses we have, the 10 plus x, we have like 5 of them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which represents the 5 friends, right? If we simplify that, all we have to do is just save one of them, right? And we will multiply it by 5. So we have 5 times 10 plus x, and we'll make it be equal to 120. But hold on just a minute, because you're not done yet, right? Do you remember how to solve this? So what would you do to solve this problem? Well, I had to figure out a way to get my answer. So remember, the whole amount was 120, and we had to divide that up between how many people? 5 people. So we're going to write it as like this. So we're going to write it as 120 divided by 5, and we're going to make that be equal to 24. What's the next step, though? After we know that it's $24 that everybody's going to spend, we also know that they each already spent $10 to get in. So what do I need to do to figure out the amount of money that they spent on lunch? Well, simple. I would just take that $10, subtract it from the 24 that each of them will already have to spend anyway, and that's going to give me a value of $14, remember? So that's how we found out that each friend will be able to spend $14 on lunch. So now, look at this, guys. We took an elementary standard or elementary strategy and applied it to a middle school standard and middle school strategy, right? We basically took a tape diagram, y'all, and we plug in X values. Normally, remember, you will see a question mark or some type of symbol to represent an unknown number, but we are moving away from question marks now, and we're focusing on the X values. It's the same thing, guys. You've been doing this forever, right? Simple. So just take those same concepts that you already know and apply them to the algebra, apply them to the 8th grade math, apply them to the 7th grade math, and you will see that all the stuff that you have been learning will continue on and help you grow as you go on, okay? Let's go to our next question. I'm going to move over here, and I know I'm going to have to move again, but this is the second one that we did, the second strategy, right? The same problem, same context. And you remember me doing a tape diagram like that, where we just went ahead and knocked out the first $50, and then we had the second part divided up for lunch. Well, here we go. How can we write an equation for this one? Pause the video when I say go. Come up with your equation that I want you to compare to Mr. G one. But don't forget, you got to do your part plus your part and make it be equal to a whole. Okay, so go ahead and do that now. Ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you had the opportunity to go ahead and create your equation. So let's see what Mr. G has and see how you'll compare. So we have 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus x plus x plus x plus x plus x, and we made it equal to 120. So remember, we took all of our parts and add them all together and made them be equal to the whole. Okay? Now I need you to pause the video, go simplify this equation to make it shorter, and then compare it to Mr. G. Ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. So hopefully you had opportunity to simplify this. We know that all the 10s add together to equal 50, and all the x's will come together to be 5x. So we have 50 plus 5x equal to 120. And $50 is the total entry fee, and 120 is how much you spent altogether, right? The 5x represents the lunch. So how are we going to solve this? Maybe you remember, maybe you didn't, but hopefully you did. So remember, to solve this, we're simply going to just do 120 minus 50, which will represent how much money we had altogether, minus in the amount of money we spent to get in, which will give us $70 left to spend on lunch. And then we took that $70 and split it up between all these 5 people here where we have X's representing them, right? So now when we split that up between all those 5 people, it's going to be 70 divided by 5. And what answer should we get? Hopefully you remember. If you did not remember, pause the video, get your answer together, compare it to Mr. G. Ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you remember that 70 divided by 5, you got 14, and each person was able to spend $14 on lunch. Yummy, yummy, yummy. I am so hungry. All right, let's go to our next question. So remember talking about my homegirl May, or Mai, however you want to pronounce it. Let's look at the strategy that we used for her, right? So with our tape diagram that we came up with for May, we were able to solve our problem, right? So the next thing we want to do is write an equation to go along with the same system that we used before. Okay, this time we used the number 9, but remember, we're going to replace that 9 with an X because this is what you're going to see in middle school. You're no longer going to see question marks anymore. So we replace it with an X, right? And we're going to take this and we're going to create our equation. So I want you to pause the video real quick, and I want you to come up with a strategy. Not come up with a strategy. I want you to use the strategy we have been using in the last 2 or 3 problems, right? Where you add up your parts and make it be equal to the whole. Now, I'm going to go ahead and simplify it when my answer come up. So remember, if yours is longer, you can just go back and simplify it as well. Okay, ready, set, go. All right, welcome back. So here's my answer that I came up with, and I want you to compare yours to mine, okay? So my answer is as follows. 50, which is 50 flyers, equals 5 plus 18 plus 3 times x. Now, if you did it plus x plus x plus x, do not forget to go back and simplify your equations, all right? Very good. So let's look at the next problem where Mr. G family wanted to blow up some balloons. So remember talking about that one, right? Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and look at the strategy that we used in our last video. So we came up with our tape diagram that we had used to find our answer, which was very useful, right? And what I want you to do now is just to simply create your equation using the same strategies that we have been using in all the last problems that we've been working on, okay? So just think about it for a quick second. What equation could you possibly come up with to make this work? Okay. All right. Pause the video when I say go. Ready, set, go. All right. Welcome back. So hopefully you were able to go ahead and set up your equation using the x values. Now I noticed that I changed my x's to 9s, but I just want you to remember that the x's were there. So use those x values to help you create your equation. So you should have something like this: 24 plus x plus x plus x plus x equals 60, right? Because we're taking our parts and adding them together and making it be equal to the whole. And then we're going to simplify our equation by adding all the like terms together. So we have 24 plus 4x equals 60. Very good. Please don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to Basic Math Skills with Mr. G.